Welcome to Brainstorm. I'm Lisa Williver, and today we are discussing jobs and careers of the 21st century. But before we begin, let's take a look at what's actually happening in today's job market. From the time kids are old enough to speak, someone will inevitably ask them, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" If a kid enjoys playing in a pretend kitchen, people assume they want to become a chef. If they build with blocks, carpenter or construction worker is the obvious choice. But the job market, as it tends to do, changes. While new jobs are added, other jobs go the way of Morse code. While many of today's jobs will continue to exist, tomorrow they may look a bit different. When today's wannabe superheroes reach college, they'll come face to face with some new and somewhat confusing job titles. And even though most 4-year-olds aren't mulling over a fulfilling career as a corporate brand strategist or a logistics configuration analyst, today's kids definitely need to be prepared for anything. To brainstorm this week's question, I've invited Dawn Hiltner, a former elementary school teacher and the Associate Director of Organizing and Coalition Building for the New Jersey Education Association, and Dr. Leon Ciccarello, who brings over 20 years of experience in energy and trading utility markets in the United States and Europe, as well as large-scale enterprise software products. Dawn, Leon, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So, first question, since we're talking about careers and what kids want to do when they grow up, what did you want to be when you grew up? Dawn?
When I was about 5, I wanted to be a waitress, and I did achieve that dream as I got
living
older.
the dream.
I was living the dream.
Excellent.
Wasn't that much of a dream, though. It's a lot of hard work.
Very
So
very
tip
hard
your
work.
servers well.
Absolutely. And how about you, Leon?
I was all over the place. I
Hard
was
to
the
believe.
Typical young boy with lots of interests, mechanics, but mostly mechanical background kind of stuff.
And I imagine maybe you were driven toward the sciences.
Yeah, at that time, science fiction was enormous. So
Okay.
yeah, there was lots of chasing robots, chasing all kinds of sci-fi and all that kind of stuff. So sure.
Now, I know with kids today, the job titles don't always explain what the job is, and especially because technology has been changing so rapidly. We went from the late 60s to the mid-70s with the 8-track dominating the market. Then we had the cassette, and little by little, everything that comes out has a shorter lifespan. And it seems like technology just changes so quickly. So, Dawn, how do you feel that schools are responding to all the technological changes?
Well, it's very difficult because the technology changes so rapidly. It's sometimes hard for schools financially to keep up with the latest thing on the market. A lot of the schools use Chromebooks. A lot of the schools try to have technology departments, but some of the other schools actually partner with other organizations. They'll partner with businesses or partner with other scientific companies so that kids have an opportunity to work on some of the latest equipment and latest technology.
That's really great to hear, because I can't imagine being in high school right now and wondering what I would want to do. Leon, how do you feel that kids are prepared as they're coming out, being a business owner and an entrepreneur? Do you feel that kids are prepared for what they will be facing right now?
No, they're not prepared.
Tell us how you really feel.
They are lacking in the basics. They are great at adopting technology. They love the toys. But if you get down into the nitty-gritties of how's the toy put together, how's the functional position of what they have in their hands, they fall off quickly.
Okay.
And their interest level isn't there.
Because students need an opportunity to engage in other things like the arts, in scientific endeavors, robotics programs, things where they can use creativity and teamwork and learn how to apply what they know, problem-solving skills, build those types of skills so that they can understand how things work and understand how things may work in the future.
So what I'm hearing is we're giving them the application skills, but somewhere there's a disconnect between actually applying them.
Yes.
Is that what you're finding with the younger workers that are coming your way?
Most of our onboarding for our new employees, there's a lot of rigid position in understanding the old days of reading, writing, arithmetic. They lack the creativity needed to think about a problem outside the box. We say this all the time, get outside the box. But when you say that to a young person, they don't know what that means. and they are lacking the tools to be able to build a new perspective of what out-of-the-box thinking means. And what ends up happening in our onboarding perspective is we take an employee and start to run them through their job criteria, help them understand what they need to do on a day in, day out basis. So we're not really testing them, we're educating them in the fundamentals of almost like the apprenticeship position of how to do their job.
So I would imagine that costs employers more money in preparing the employees, where before they might have been able to adapt quickly to a new job or a new profession. Does it take more time and more money to get the employees where you need them to be?
It does. It helps us create corporate culture in regards to the way that the employees act inside of our organizations, so that they're part of the team, part of the gear work. But it does have a cost from the standpoint that we feel like we're basically starting over with the employees.
Now, I like when you said about thinking outside the box, because something really interesting happened in my house recently. We had a new Christmas tree with an enormous box. And when we took the tree out, my 11-year-old jumped inside the box and sat there like he was a race car driver. And my college freshman jumped in behind him, and they pretended they were in a bobsled. And they were doing well, right, left, until they both went different directions. I assume that's where it was all over. But watching them jump into this box, and I thought maybe we haven't given them enough empty boxes, because they were really excited with this giant box. And, when I thought about it, everything is so formatted in school. But then they come home, and the video games they play, they just like pick a character and they pick a game, and it's a menu. And they're not doing any of the creativity. They're not creating.
It's a script.
Yeah, so I wonder how that's going to impact them long term.
Well, and the other thing with the video games is if you start to fail, if you're losing a game, you can hit reset and start over, and that's not real life.
Guilty.
That's not real life. And so that's why it's important to let kids kind of get themselves in situations where they have to figure the way out. Yeah. And they have to figure out how to take it to the next level, take it to the next step. But you're right. I mean, school is very structured. And then after school, we play sports, which are very structured. I mean, I'm sure, well, I'm showing my age, but I think we're all in the same generation. We used to just go outside and play until the streetlights came on, and you made up your own game. If you didn't have a basketball, you figured out some other way to use the net to do something. It's not like that today. As adults, we've kind of put our kids in these structured environments, and it's important to kind of break that mold and give them an opportunity to explore and solve their own problems and come up with their own ideas.
So as an entrepreneur, what advice would you give to parents to have kids prepared? I mean, schools are doing what they do. So what can the parents do to either supplement or expand upon what the schools are doing? Are you going to say unplug all the devices?
No, that's a very loaded question. I had a conversation at a party with a number of parents. Most of the parents are interested in their kids' education, but ill-equipped to deal with it for three reasons. Either they don't have the time because their jobs are very intense, and they physically don't have the bandwidth to be able to do homework with them because they've got their own homework to do when they finish dinner. Or they're at a lower playing field where when they were in school, they were poor students, they were thrilled to get out, and they don't want to do school again. Yeah. And they surely can't help them with their homework because they don't remember enough. And nor do they want to get a refresher on their own to remember how to do it to be able to help their child. So instead of looking silly to their child, they'll skirt the whole thing. And one child left behind, all the kids left behind. That's because true. The parents aren't supporting them, and the teaching establishment is expecting the parents to pick up the slack, and they don't.
Yeah, and I know even with my youngest, the math, I look at some of the math problems, and we've gone from the grade letters A, B, C, D, F to numbers, standard based. And I look at some of these, he'll get everything right, but he's got a 3. So as parents, we're just trying to understand what the kids are going through. So I think it puts them at a disadvantage during this transition time that seems to be happening. We'll be right back after the commercial break.
What to expect when you're expecting.
Like here?
A teenager.
Today, I'm going to show you how to team-proof your home. First step, Hide the car keys, preferably somewhere they would never look. Challenges will come up. Be ready for them. Hi, honey.
Ready for the... Mom, you don't use mannequins in the mannequin challenge.
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
Welcome back to Brainstorm. I'm Lisa Williver, and today we're talking about jobs and careers for the 21st century, and I'm excited to continue the conversation with Dawn Hiltner and Dr. Leon Ciccarello. So we were just talking about all of the different things that schools are doing to try to prepare kids for the 21st century. How do you feel that academics compares with athletics right now? Because I know we don't want to see them in competition, but I know for some kids there's much more emphasis on athletics. Leon, what do you think about that?
I think there's a disconnect.
Okay.
We award, everybody gets a trophy on the ball field, and in the classroom, we hold them accountable. It becomes uncomfortable. They fail. They don't want to do it anymore. They're not patted on the back as quickly as they are on the ball field. So there's a huge disconnect in the way that we're showing them how to succeed in life. And then they go to the path of least resistance. So they become athletic orientated.
How about you, Dawn?
And I think I completely agree. And I think a lot of times, though, when the athletics becomes more competitive, kids are more likely to drop out because they don't like to sit on the bench, or they don't like that their team's losing all the time. And, you know, there's a lot of education that goes into learning how to lose gracefully, learning how to make yourself better, learning how to put effort in, even if it's not always rewarded, because that's what real life is like.
And I notice, my youngest is 11, and I notice in the elementary schools right now, the difference between the travel teams and the recreational teams. There's even a disconnect between how they play and how the parents respond on the field. It seems like the recreational leagues are more like when we were growing up. The kids are playing, they're having fun. It's not overly serious, but if you go to some of the travel teams, it's a lot of pressure on the kids, and I always wonder how that translates into other aspects of their lives. You know, do you think maybe if somebody's excelling on in athletics, that might push them for academics, or maybe have the opposite?
It's the opposite effect. In fact, most of the parents that are pushing their kids on the D1 team, that's their plan for paying for college. And unfortunately, it's a poor plan. The parents didn't plan, the kids are falling in the same trap.
I've actually met several students. My older son plays ice hockey, and it's a big thing is to try to get a scholarship for playing ice hockey for college. And some of the kids, once they get to the school, they start freshman year, they quit because they realize it's a 5-hour day between workouts and ice time that takes away from everything else, and it becomes their life, and they're not prepared academically to keep up. And I've known at least 2 or 3 children just in the past few years that have had to leave school.
Well, because the high school doesn't hold them accountable to the grade average they have to maintain to be on the team, where the college does, period.
And I think like you mentioned, the pressure from parents, you know, this is how we're going to pay for college. It's a lot, because it's like a job. It's like the kid is now paying for college through their time and their sweat. What do you think, Dawn?
Well, we're fortunate. My son goes to a high school that's really a football powerhouse, and he plays football. he's not a star on the team by any means, but he enjoys being part of the team and goes to all the practices. But right at the beginning, the coach took all the parents in the room and said, you have a better shot of getting an academic scholarship than a football scholarship. Don't expect it. Focus on academics, because how you behave in the classroom, how you achieve, the way you treat women, the way you behave in public, all of those things amount to whether you play on Friday night. And I think it's just we're very fortunate to have a coach who has a very healthy attitude about football.
He should have a video that's played at every league in every state across the country, because that's what it's all about. And to, the unrealistic expectations, to dispel the myths that if you're really good in your league or your town, that you're good enough to get those scholarships, because honestly, there's somebody in the next town who's just as good, and the town after that,
That's
and they
true.
don't get that. Another thing I wanted to discuss with you is the trades. I'm the daughter of a tradesman. My father was a butcher for 45 years, and he worked hard, but that was a skill. I mean, that he was trained, he was an apprentice. And then it seemed like for a while there, we started trying to steer every kid to college, whether they were prepared to go to college. And in doing so, I felt like we devalued our trades, and we need them. I think that's something we'll always need. So as a business owner, how do you see the devaluing of the trades? I mean, do you even agree with that?
I do, and there's a big evolution in regards to the trades. We've replaced muscle with automation, and we're moving to the point where that is the norm. So the trades that required plowing a field, going out and doing something physical, it doesn't exist anymore. Now you're asking the question, do we have enough knowledge in the core position to be able to do the trades that were revolved around sort of the gray matter and the ability to think through a problem and take the trade to the next level? That's where the opportunities of the future will be. But what that looks like tomorrow, I don't think any of us know, because things are maturing too quickly. Designed obsolescence is really the key factor to that, because we're designing things to become obsolete on purpose to create the next job or the next wave, so that we have a wave of investment in technology to keep the country moving. But where the people fall into that equation, it's a big crystal ball.
It's scary, and it's got to be scary for so many people who are counting on a trade for a career. What do you think, Dawn?
Well, I have a perfect example. My father was a printer, and he worked as a printer his whole career. And if he were out, say a young man today starting all over again, he would really have a hard time finding a printing job. Mm-hmm. Print shops have closed up everywhere. The nature of running those giant printing presses has changed. People are doing everything electronically. The annual reports are no longer printed, so he would be out of a job. Mm-hmm. And as a result, his pension keeps getting lessened because there's no printers putting this plan anymore. So, that idea of just being very well-rounded, having the ability to, be creative, to learn new concepts, to always be learning. I grew up with my electrician. We're close in age, and he's one of the smartest men that I know, because he has had to adapt to new things every year practically. And we had solar panels installed, and to be able to then connect everything into the grid that we have, and to be able to connect a generator in, and I mean, there's just so many different aspects now that I don't think when he started his career he ever thought he would be dealing with. So the trades have gotten a lot more technical and a lot more skilled, I believe, than strictly using a shovel or pushing a plow, or it's really you really need a wide skill set.
What now, mixing the trades with the modern technology, which trades do you think are going to be really great markets for kids that are in high school and are looking for something that they should focus on?
Small scale manufacturing seems to be the trend that is taking off right now. We're looking for design concepts and thoughts around things that are one-offs because of that customized fashion. When you get into the larger scale common use position, automation has basically crushed that. So there's no, the old cliche of a large scale factory that produces 1,000 things a day will continue, but it'll be exactly what it is, a non-manned entity, chunking out widgets. The jobs will be in the small scale jewelry and or small desktop publishing and or making of products for personal use that have a personalized touch to them.
Well, I hope kids and parents are watching right now and that they took some notes. Right now, we are going to play Brainstorm.
Okay.
In the tradition of brainstorming, we are going to look over some ideas, decide if they're good or bad. If they're great, we're going to save them. And if they're not, you get to ball them up and make a basket.
Okay.
No pressure.
Or miss the basket.
Or miss the basket. Either way, it's all good. So idea number one, the job market historically changes very slowly, and that trend continues. What do you guys think?
False.
That's false.
All right, Leon, I'll give you the honors. Now, this could be extreme. No, okay.
Move the target.
All right, there we go. One more time.
There you
Woo! 2 points. Okay. Idea two, creativity is a luxury schools can no longer afford.
That's false.
There you go. We know
That's
that
the
one's
most important piece.
Woo! Okay. Idea three, many sustainable careers will be found in the tech sector. Ah, sustainable. I can see you're stuck on the word sustainable. What do you think?
Tech's always changing, right?
Tech is always changing, and we're all looking for sustainable jobs because that's something that was inbred in all of our thinking. I get this career, and this career will support me my whole life.
Yes or no?
That's a no.
All right, ball it up. Number four, many sustainable careers will be found in the medical sector.
I would say true because we're always going to need
Put that one
doctors.
down.
Oh, so I keep this?
The trades are best for low-achieving students who lack discipline.
Oh, that's false.
It's an awful stereotype. Both of you go at the same time. There we go. Two more. You ready? Yeah. Didn't see that. Excellent. Young people should expect to start at the top.
False.
Innovation requires creativity and skills.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, idea number 8. Social skills are as valuable as career skills.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, if not more.
More? Okay, I agree with that 100%. So Dawn, Leon, I want to thank you very much for being here right now. We're going to go to a break and we'll be right back.
This is the story of a boy who is very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help. And slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Hi, and welcome to Brainstorm. I'm Miriam Davenport. Today we have a special guest who is a community partnership coordinator for the School District of Philadelphia. She also works with the Science Leadership Academy in the middle school there. And welcome to our program, Diana Potts. Welcome to Brainstorm. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. So talk to us about what your district is doing for the 21st century job market for the kids. How are they preparing the children?
Sure. So our school district supports a network of schools. I happen to work in one of the schools, Science Leadership Academy Middle School. And the way that we are preparing students for the 21st century is through inquiry-based learning. Which means that our learning starts with a question and crafting a question and then following that question with research and collaboration, presentation, and reflection.
Elaborating on that, specifically, what other skills do the kids need for the 21st century, would you say? Like you're teaching certain things in the schools. What kind of skill sets do they need? Is there anything hands-on that they need to know?
Mm-hmm. So we start with all of our units in humanities and science and math start with a relative real-world question. And through that question, students explore what other questions in from that, but also what does a really good question look like? How to identify our own bias, personal bias, as well as the bias of maybe authors that we read when we do our research. And what does good research look like, and how is that crafted? And then how do we present that material in a way that is informative as well as appealing to our audience? And then when we're done with presentation and collaborating on that presentation, how does honest reflection look like? And looking back into seeing what we were proud of or what our students are proud of in the presentation, but also what could be revised for next time.
Take me into a classroom in this Philadelphia school district. What does a 21st century classroom look like?
Sure, a 21st century classroom is buzzing with energy, and it's buzzing with mistakes and learning from our mistakes, and taking that learning and moving forward into real world application, but also learning that involves empathy for the many people involved. So for example, our humanities class right now, they're studying the American Revolution. And through all our classes, we're raising a question about, what does bravery look like? So what did bravery during the American Revolution look like? And what did justice look like during the American Revolution from many different perspectives? So our students are leading with questions and starting there.
What do you think were the changes that were made to your school district as far as the 21st century? Were there a lot of changes that had to be implemented? Did everything stay the same pretty much? Or were there specific changes you guys made?
So I think when a school district invests and supports in a school like Science Leadership Academy Middle School and the other science leadership schools, it's about trust. That's the really big investment, besides monetary, of course. And that trust is that this model is not the typical school model. But perhaps it's time to look at our typical school model and try something new, and trust in the people that work there, the professionals, the staff, that they are going to carry out this model with the students. And trust in the students too, that they are going to be able to show up for that model and go through it.
That is so important. Well, Diana, that's all we have time for today. I thank you so much for being a part of Brainstorm today, and we look forward to talking with you in the future. Thank you so much.